Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the large front window. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months, looking for new worlds that humans could live on. Jake was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been leading space missions for 20 years. "Captain, we have something big on the sensors," said Lisa Bennett, the ship's science officer. She was a young woman with short brown hair who knew everything about alien life forms. Her voice sounded worried. Jake walked over to her station. "How big are we talking about?" "About 10 times the size of our ship, sir." "It's moving straight toward us." The bridge became quiet. Everyone knew that meeting unknown aliens in deep space could be very dangerous. Tony Rodriguez, the chief engineer, was already checking the ship's weapons and shields. He was a short, stocky man who could fix anything that broke. "Are they sending any messages?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. But it's in a language we don't know. The computer is trying to translate it now." Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's doctor and biology expert, came onto the bridge. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who loved studying new forms of life. "Captain, if these are aliens, this could be the most important day in human history." Jake nodded. "Let's hope they're friendly." Lisa put the alien ship on the main screen. The large screen at the front of the bridge showed a massive black ship. It looked like a giant metal claw with sharp edges everywhere. Strange red lights blinked. Along its surface, the ship looked built for war, not peace. "My God," whispered Tony. "That thing looks like it was made to kill." Before anyone could respond, the computer made a beeping sound. "Translation complete," said the ship's computer voice. "The alien message says, 'Small vessel, you will submit or be destroyed. Prepare for boarding.'" Jake felt his heart beat faster, but he kept his voice calm. "Open a channel to them." "Channel open, sir." "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human ship New Horizon. We come in peace and wish to talk with you." The answer came quickly. "You will be silent. Your species is now property of the Vrex Consortium. Resistance will result in pain and death." The alien ship moved closer. Up close, it was even more frightening. Jake could see weapons pointing at his ship from every direction. "Captain," said Lisa, "they're sending over a shuttle. It's heading for our docking bay." Jake looked at his crew. They were all scared, but they were also brave. "Tony, make sure. Our shields are up, but don't power the weapons yet. I don't want to start a fight if we can avoid it. Amy, I want you to study these aliens when they come aboard. Lisa, record everything." "Sir, shouldn't we fight them?" asked Tony. "Not yet. Let's see what they want first." 10 minutes later, the alien shuttle attached to the New Horizon. Jake and his team waited in the docking bay. They wore their best uniforms and carried no weapons. Jake wanted to show that humans were peaceful. The shuttle door opened with a loud hiss. What came out made everyone step back in fear. The aliens were huge, about 8 feet tall, with dark green skin that looked like leather. They had long arms with claws instead of fingers. Their faces looked like a mix between a lizard and a dragon. Sharp teeth filled their mouths. They walked on 2 legs, but moved like hunters ready to attack. The leader of the aliens was even bigger than the others. Scars covered his face and arms. When he spoke, his voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "I am War Prime Sketh of the Vrex Consortium. You are now our slaves. Your ship and your lives belong to us." Jake stepped forward. Even though he was scared, he didn't show it. "I'm Captain Jake Morrison. We're explorers from Earth. We're here to learn about the galaxy and make friends with other species." Sketh made a sound that might have been laughter. "Friends? You are. Prey. We are predators. For 1,000 years, we have ruled the galaxy. Every species fears us. Every world bows before us. Dr. Foster moved closer to get a better look at the aliens. Fascinating, she said quietly. Your bone structure suggests you evolved from pack hunters, but your behavior indicates a hierarchical society. The other aliens looked confused. They had expected the humans to be terrified, to fall to their knees and beg for mercy. Instead, this small female was studying them like they were interesting animals. You are not afraid, said Sketh. It was not a question. We're curious, said Jake. We've never met your species before. We'd like to learn about your culture and your worlds. Sketh's claws extended. We do not share culture. We take what we want. Your species will work in our mines and farms. Your children will serve our young. Your ships will carry our warriors. Lisa stepped forward with a small device in her hand. Could you tell us about your technology? Your ship's design is very different from ours. The Vrex warriors looked at each other. In all their conquests, no species had ever asked them questions during their first meeting. Usually, other aliens would be crying, begging, or trying to run away. This is wrong, growled one of the warriors. They should be on their knees. Sketh studied the humans more carefully. These creatures were small and weak-looking. They had no claws, no sharp teeth, no thick skin. They should have been easy to frighten. But they stood there asking questions, like they were meeting old friends. You will come with us, Sketh decided. Our scientists will study you. Perhaps you are too stupid to understand danger. We'd be happy to visit your ship, said Jake. But we'd like to bring our own scientists. Too, we can learn from each other. Dr. Foster nodded eagerly. Yes, a scientific exchange would be wonderful. We could share information about our different biologies and technologies. The Vrex warriors moved closer, trying to use their size to scare the humans. But Jake just looked up at them with interest. How do you communicate across such long distances? Your ship is much larger than ours, so your communication systems must be very advanced. Sketh felt something he had never experienced before: confusion. Every species in the galaxy knew to fear the Vrex. Even the most warlike aliens would show respect or terror when faced with Vrex warriors. But these humans acted like they were at a peaceful meeting. We will take you to our ship, Sketh said. Finally, you will see the power of the Vrex. Then you will understand fear. That sounds educational, said Dr. Foster. Jake, should we bring the cultural exchange gifts? Jake smiled. Good idea. Tony, get the Earth music and art collections. Lisa, bring the star charts of our region. As the humans prepared to visit the alien ship, the Vrex warriors whispered among themselves. Something was very wrong with this conquest. These creatures were supposed to be afraid. Instead, they were planning to give gifts and share knowledge. Sketh watched the humans work together, helping each other carry equipment and sharing information quickly. His warrior instincts told him that these beings were dangerous, but he couldn't understand why. They had no weapons, no armor, no natural defenses. But as the group moved toward the shuttle, Sketh noticed something that made his blood run cold. The humans weren't just unafraid, they were working together like parts of a single organism. Every movement was coordinated. Every decision was shared. In all his years of conquest, Sketh had never seen prey that acted like this. And deep in his predator mind, a small voice began to whisper that perhaps these creatures weren't prey at all. 3 weeks had passed since the first meeting between humans and the Vrex. The alien war fleet now hung in space above the human colony of New Terra. Sketh stood on the bridge of his massive ship, looking down at the green and blue world below. The humans have refused to surrender, reported his second-in-command, a scarred warrior named Greth. They say they want to negotiate. Sketh's claws scraped against the metal rail. Negotiate? Prey does not negotiate with predators. They submit or they die. Down on New Terra, General Kevin Murphy stood in the colony's command center. He was a big man with steady hands and calm eyes. Around him, other humans worked at computers and radios, preparing for the coming battle. "Sir, we count 50,000. Vrex warriors in the ships above us," reported Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos. She was a tough woman who had fought in many battles. "Our defense force has 10,000 soldiers." Kevin nodded slowly. "Those aren't good numbers, but we're not going to give up without a fight. What about the civilians?" "Colony Administrator Dan Cooper is moving them to the underground shelters," said Maria. "But sir, even if we fight hard, we can't win against those odds." "Maybe we can't win," said Kevin, "but we can make them pay a heavy price, and we can buy time for the civilians to escape." The attack began at dawn. Vrex shuttles dropped from the sky like black rain. Each shuttle carried 50 warriors armed with energy weapons and razor-sharp claws. They had done this same attack on hundreds of worlds. It always ended the same way: quick victory and total surrender. But something went wrong from the very beginning. The first shuttle landed in the colony's main square. 50 Vrex warriors poured out, roaring their war cries and expecting to see terrified humans running in all directions. Instead, they found empty streets and silence. "Where are they?" growled the squad leader Dot. His answer came from the buildings around them. Human soldiers opened fire from windows, rooftops, and doorways, but they didn't just shoot randomly. Every shot was aimed and coordinated. When one group of humans stopped shooting to reload, another group would start firing. The Vrex warriors tried to charge the nearest building, but they ran into a trap. The humans had dug holes in the ground and covered them with thin boards. 5 Vrex fell into the holes, where sharp metal spikes waited for them. "This is wrong," said the squad leader. "Prey doesn't set traps." More shuttles landed around the colony. Each one faced the same problem. The humans weren't fighting like individuals trying to save themselves. They were fighting like parts of a single army, each group helping the others dot in. The colony's eastern sector, Sergeant Maria Santos led a squad of 20 soldiers. They were defending a bridge that the Vrex needed to reach the civilian shelters. Maria had been given orders to hold the bridge for 2 hours. That had been 18 hours ago. "Sergeant, we're running low on ammunition," said Corporal Pete Johnson. He was a young man with dirt on his face and determination in his eyes. "Then we'll use rocks," said Maria. "Nobody gets across this bridge." A new wave of Vrex warriors approached the bridge. There were 200 of them, all roaring and showing their claws. Any normal species would have run away or surrendered when faced with such numbers. But Maria's squad stayed in position. When the Vrex charged, the humans didn't fight each warrior individually. Instead, they worked together. 3 soldiers would focus on one Vrex while the others covered them. When one human got tired, another would take his place. The battle went on for hours. The Vrex kept expecting the humans to break and run, but they never did. Even when soldiers were wounded, they kept fighting. Even when they were outnumbered, they kept helping each other. Private Sam Miller got badly hurt when a Vrex claw tore across his chest. Any normal creature would have retreated to safety. Instead, Sam kept loading ammunition for his teammates until he passed out from blood loss. "Why don't they run?" asked a confused Vrex warrior. "Because they're not fighting for themselves," said Maria, who had heard the question. "They're fighting for each other." This was something the Vrex couldn't understand. In their society, every warrior fought for his own glory and survival. The strong survived and the weak died. But these humans seemed to get stronger when they worked together. At the colony's command center, General Kevin Murphy watched the battle reports. The news was bad. The Vrex were winning, but they were paying a much higher price than expected. "Sir, we're losing ground in the western sector. reported a communications officer. But the eastern bridge is still holding. What about civilian evacuation? Asked Kevin. Colony Administrator Dan Cooper spoke up. He was a thin man with quick hands and a sharp mind. We've got 80% of the civilians in the underground tunnels. The transport ships are loading them now. How much more time do you need? 6 hours, sir. Kevin looked at the tactical display. His soldiers were being pushed back on all fronts, but they were still fighting, still working together, still refusing to give up. We'll get you your 6 hours, he said. The battle continued through the day and into the night. The Vrex kept expecting the humans to surrender, but it never happened. Instead, something strange began to occur. The human soldiers seemed to be learning from the battle, changing their tactics to match what the Vrex were doing. When the Vrex used their claws in close combat, the humans started using longer weapons to keep them at a distance. When the Vrex tried to surround small groups, the humans would call for help, and other squads would come running. Lieutenant Colonel Sarah Kim was leading a group of engineers who were setting up explosive traps. The Vrex always attack in the same pattern, she told her team. They roar, they charge, they try to use fear to win. But if we know what they're going to do, we can be ready for it. The engineers worked together to set up a series of connected explosives. When the next group of Vrex warriors charged, the humans led them into the trap area, and then triggered the explosives all at once. War Prime Sketh watched the battle from his ship. He was used to conquests that lasted a few hours. This battle had been going on for 3 days. His warriors were tired and confused. War Prime, said Greth, we've lost 30,000 warriors. The humans have only lost 8,000. Sketh. Couldn't believe it. That's impossible. We're the greatest predators in the galaxy. These humans are weak and soft. Sir, they don't fight like individuals. They fight like ... like a pack. Sketh had heard that word before, but he had never seen it in action. Vrex fought alone, each warrior trying to prove his strength. But these humans seemed to share their strength with each other. On the 4th day of battle, the last civilian transport ship left New Terra. Colony Administrator Dan Cooper stood with General Kevin Murphy. At the command center, all civilians are safely away, said Dan. The mission is complete. Kevin nodded. Then it's time for us to go too. Signal all units. Fighting retreat to the evacuation zone. The human soldiers began to pull back, but they didn't run. They moved. In organized groups, with some soldiers covering others. Even in retreat, they worked together. Sergeant Maria Santos was among the last to leave. Her squad had held the eastern bridge for 4 full days. When she finally stepped away from her position, she looked back at the bridge with pride. We did it, said Corporal Pete Johnson. We held them off long enough. Yes, said Maria, but this is just the beginning. The Vrex will learn that humans don't give up easily. As the human ships left New Terra, War Prime Sketh stood looking at the colony they had captured. Technically, the Vrex had won. They controlled the planet, but the victory felt hollow. War Prime, said Greth, the humans are gone. We have their world. Sketh nodded slowly. Yes, we have their world. But they took something from us too. What do you mean? They took our certainty. For the first time in 1,000 years, Prey fought back, and they fought like nothing we've ever seen before. Sketh walked to his private quarters and began writing a report to the Vrex High Council. He tried to explain what had happened, but the words seemed inadequate. How could he tell them that a species with no claws, no fangs, and no natural weapons had made his warriors afraid? The humans had lost the battle, but they had won something more important. They had shown the galaxy's greatest predators that there was a new kind of strength in the universe. A strength that came not from individual power, but from working together. And deep in space, more human ships were already moving toward Vrex territory, carrying soldiers who had heard about the Battle of New Terra and wanted to join the fight. The Vrex High Council met in their great hall on the homeworld of Vrex Prime. The hall was a massive room, with high ceilings and walls covered in the skulls of conquered species. At the center sat the Council of Nine, the most powerful Vrex in the galaxy. War Prime Sketh stood before them, his head bowed low. He had just finished telling them about the Battle of New Terra. The silence in the hall was heavy and dangerous. "You lost 30,000 warriors to 8,000 humans," said Council Leader Thrax, his voice like grinding stone. "Explain this failure." Sketh lifted his head. "High Council, these humans are not like other species. They do not fight as individuals. They fight as one organism." "Impossible," growled Councillor Dreth. "All intelligent species fight for individual survival. It is the way of evolution." "I have seen it with my own eyes," said Sketh. "They share resources. They protect their weak. They sacrifice themselves for others without hesitation." The council members looked at each other with confusion. In all their thousands of years of conquest, they had never heard of such behavior. "Bring us Fleet Commander Gorth," ordered Thrax. "If anyone can understand this mystery, it is him." Fleet Commander. Gorth was the greatest military mind in Vrex history. He was older than most, with white scars covering his dark green skin. He had studied the battle tactics of every species in the galaxy. When Gorth arrived, he was given all the battle recordings from New Terra. He watched them carefully, studying how the humans moved and fought. After several hours, he looked up at the council with worry in his eyes. "High Council," he said slowly, "we have a problem. These humans are not individuals who sometimes work together. They are a collective species that becomes stronger when threatened." "What does this mean?" asked Thrax. "It means that everything we know about warfare is wrong when fighting humans. Our tactics are based on breaking individual will. But humans don't have individual will in the way we understand it. They have group will." Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Paul Henderson was meeting with the human government. He was a tall man with gray hair and intelligent eyes. The news from New Terra had reached Earth, and now humanity knew they were at war. "The Vrex think they can intimidate us like they did other species," said Admiral Henderson. "They're wrong. We need to show them what humans can do when we work together." President Helen Garcia nodded. "What do you need?" "Everything," said Henderson. "Every ship, every soldier, every scientist. This isn't just about one colony. This is about the survival of our species." Dr. Rebecca Turner, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, spoke up. "We've been studying the Vrex equipment we captured. Their technology is advanced, but it's designed for individual warriors. They don't have the coordination systems we do." "What kind of coordination systems?" asked the president. "They can't share information quickly between units. Each warrior fights independently, but our soldiers can communicate instantly across vast distances. We can coordinate thousands of fighters as if they were one person." Captain Steve Martinez, who had been studying Vrex space maps, added his thoughts. "I've been looking at their territory. They control hundreds of worlds, but they control them through fear, not cooperation. If we can break that fear, their whole empire might collapse." The human government began the largest military mobilization in Earth's history. But this wasn't just about building ships and training soldiers. It was about preparing humanity's greatest weapon, their ability to work together. In space, terrible news was reaching Earth. The Vrex had captured a human exploration ship and taken the crew prisoner. Among them was pilot Nancy Price, a young woman who had been mapping the outer systems. Nancy and 200 other humans were being held in a Vrex prison complex on the planet Keth 7. The prison was designed to break the spirits of captured enemies. Individual cells, no communication between prisoners, and constant intimidation by Vrex guards. But the Vrex had made a mistake. They didn't understand that humans could organize even under the worst conditions Nancy had been placed in. A cell next to Dr. Frank Cooper, a scientist who had been captured 3 weeks earlier. Using a simple code of taps on the wall, they began to communicate. "Are you okay?" Nancy tapped. "Yes," Frank tapped back. "There are others here. We need to organize." Over the following days, Nancy and Frank worked to establish communication with other prisoners. They used taps, scratches on walls, and even the timing of their movements to create a network of communication throughout the prison. The Vrex guards noticed that the humans were making noise, but they couldn't understand what it meant. In their culture, prisoners were supposed to become quiet and submissive. These humans were getting louder and more active. "Something is wrong with the human prisoners," reported Guard Captain Vorth to his superior. "They keep making sounds and moving around their cells." "Beat them into silence," came the reply. But when the guards entered the cells to punish the humans, they found something unexpected. The prisoners weren't cowering in fear. They were organized. They had shared their food so that everyone was fed. They had shared their blankets so that everyone was warm. They had even created a system for taking care of sick prisoners. Nancy had become the informal leader of the human prisoners. She organized work schedules, shared resources, and maintained morale. When guards came to interrogate prisoners, the humans would give each other encouraging looks and silent signals of support. "They're not breaking," reported Guard Captain Vorth. "If anything, they seem to be getting stronger." This was impossible, according to everything the Vrex knew about prisoners. Isolated individuals were supposed to become weak and desperate. But these humans had somehow created a community inside the prison. Dr. Sarah Phillips, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, was brought in to study the captured Vrex warriors. She worked in a secure facility where several Vrex were being held for questioning. "They don't understand us at all," she reported to Admiral Henderson. "Their entire society is based on individual dominance. The strongest leads, the weak follow. They literally cannot comprehend how we can become stronger by working together." "Is that good or bad for us?" asked Henderson. "It's both," said Sarah. "It means they can't predict our tactics. But it also means they see us as a threat to their entire way of life." The interrogation sessions with the Vrex prisoners were strange. When human guards tried to question them, the Vrex would try to establish dominance through intimidation. When that failed, they would become confused and withdrawn. "Your cooperation is unnatural," said one captured Vrex warrior to Dr. Phillips. "Strong beings rule. Weak beings serve. This is the way of the universe." "But what if cooperation makes us stronger than any individual could be?" asked Sarah. The Vrex warrior stared at her with incomprehension. "Impossible. Strength comes from within. It cannot be shared." "Watch," said Sarah. She called in 6 human soldiers. "I want you to move that heavy table." One soldier tried to lift the table alone. He could barely move it. But when all 6 soldiers worked together, they lifted it easily. The Vrex warrior watched with growing alarm. "This is ... This is wrong. Each warrior should prove his own strength. But this way, we accomplish more," said Sarah. 6 humans working together are stronger than any one human alone." The Vrex warrior began to shake. The idea that cooperation could create strength was so foreign to his thinking that it made him physically ill. Back at the prison on Keth 7, Nancy Price was putting the final touches on an escape plan. She had organized all 200 human prisoners into teams. Each team had a specific job. Some would create distractions, others would overpower guards, and still others would secure the escape route. Remember, she told the group through their communication network, we all get out together, or none of us get out. Nobody gets left behind. This was another concept that the Vrex couldn't understand. In their culture, the strong survived, and the weak were abandoned. But humans refused to leave anyone behind. The prison break began at midnight. The humans moved with perfect coordination, each team doing exactly what they were supposed to do. The Vrex guards, trained to deal with individual escape attempts, were overwhelmed by the organized effort. When Guard Captain Vorth tried to stop the escape, he found himself facing not one desperate prisoner, but a coordinated group of humans, working together. They didn't try to kill him, but they efficiently removed him from the equation. This is impossible, he said as human prisoners tied him up. Prisoners don't organize like this. We're not just prisoners, said Nancy. We're humans, and humans take care of each other. All 200 human prisoners escaped that night. They stole Vrex ships and flew back to human space, carrying with them valuable information about Vrex military capabilities. When news of the prison break reached the Vrex High Council, they realized that their understanding of the universe had been fundamentally wrong. These humans weren't just another species to be conquered. They were something entirely new, a species that became more dangerous when they worked together. Fleet Commander Gorth stood before the council once again. High Council, we cannot fight these humans with conventional tactics. They turn our own strategies against us. When we try to divide them, they unite. When we try to intimidate them, they support each other. What do you recommend? Asked Thrax. Total war. The Vrex war fleet was the largest in galactic history. 5,000 ships filled the space around Vrex Prime, each one packed with warriors eager for battle. Fleet Commander Gorth stood on the bridge of the flagship, watching the final preparations. All ships report ready for the attack on Earth, reported his second-in-command, War Leader Krex. The human homeworld will burn within days. Gorth nodded, but he felt no joy. Something had been bothering him since the prison break on Keth 7. The humans had escaped with perfect coordination, leaving no one behind. In all his years of warfare, he had never seen such behavior. Sir, said Krex, the Council is asking for your final battle plan. Tell them we will attack Earth with overwhelming force, said Gorth. We will destroy their ships, bombard their cities, and break their spirit through pure strength. But even as he said the words, Gorth wondered if breaking human spirit was possible. Every encounter with humans had shown the same pattern. They became more united when threatened, not less. On Earth, Admiral Paul Henderson was meeting with the combined human military leadership. Representatives from every colony, every ship, and every military unit were connected through quantum communication links. The Vrex fleet is moving toward Earth, reported Admiral Henderson. Intelligence suggests they have 5,000 ships. We have 800. The room was quiet for a moment. Then Colonel Janet Morris, commander of the Mars Defense Fleet, spoke up. Sir, those numbers would be impossible for any normal species to overcome. But we're not normal. What do you mean? Asked Henderson. We don't fight ship against ship, said Janet. We fight as one fleet. Our 800 ships can coordinate like they're one giant vessel. Their 5,000 ships fight like 5,000 individuals. Dr. Rebecca Turner, who had been studying captured Vrex technology, guided her analysis. The Vrex have powerful weapons and strong ships, but they have no concept of fleet coordination. Each ship captain fights for his own glory. How do we use that against them? Asked Henderson. We make them chase us, said Captain Steve Martinez. We use hit-and-run tactics. We attack their weakest ships and retreat before they can respond as a group. President Helen Garcia, listening from the White House, made a decision that would change human history. Admiral Henderson, you have authorization to activate the Human Defense Network. Every human ship, military or civilian, is now part of our defense fleet. This was humanity's secret weapon, the ability to turn their entire species into a single fighting force. Cargo ships were converted to carry weapons. Passenger ships became troop transports. Even small private vessels were equipped with communication systems so they could coordinate with the main fleet. Within hours, humanity had not 800 ships, but 8,000. They came from every colony, every space station, and every corner of human space. And they all worked together with perfect coordination. The Vrex fleet reached Earth's solar system 3 days later. Gorth expected to find a small human fleet waiting to make a desperate last stand. Instead, he found something that made his blood run cold. The humans weren't waiting at Earth. They were everywhere. Human ships appeared from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, and from the depths of space. They attacked in small groups, hitting wrecked ships and disappearing before a counterattack could be organized. "This is impossible," said War Leader. "Krex, how can they coordinate so many ships across such a vast area?" Gorth watched his battle displays with growing alarm. Every time his ships moved to attack one group of humans, another group would appear from a different direction. The humans were fighting like a single organism spread across the entire solar system. "Sir, we've lost 50 ships in the past hour," reported a communications officer. "But we haven't destroyed a single human vessel." "They're not fighting us," said Gorth with sudden understanding. "They're hunting us." On Earth, Admiral Henderson coordinated the defense from a command center deep beneath the planet's surface. Around him, thousands of human officers worked at computer stations, tracking every ship in the solar system. "Target the isolated Vrex ships," ordered Henderson. "Don't engage their main fleet. Hit them where they're weakest." The human fleet moved with perfect precision. 5 small ships would attack one Vrex vessel, destroy it quickly, and then retreat. The Vrex would respond by sending hundreds of ships to chase them, but the humans would already be gone. Captain Alex Turner commanded a group of converted civilian ships. His fleet included cargo vessels, passenger ships, and even some private yachts. None of them were designed for warfare, but they all worked together perfectly. "Enemy ship at coordinates 77 Alpha," reported his sensor operator, Lieutenant Lisa Kim. "It's isolated from the main fleet. All ships, attack formation Delta," ordered Alex. "Hit it hard and fast." The converted civilian ships moved like a pack of wolves. They surrounded the Vrex vessel, attacked from all sides, and destroyed it in minutes. Then they scattered before the Vrex reinforcements could arrive. "Sir, that's our 12th kill today," reported Lisa. "And we haven't lost a single ship." This was happening throughout the solar system. The humans were destroying Vrex ships one by one, using coordination and teamwork to overcome superior individual firepower. Fleet Commander Gorth realized that his mighty fleet was being defeated by an enemy that refused to fight according to the rules of warfare. The humans wouldn't engage in ship-to-ship combat. They wouldn't fight for individual glory. They simply worked together to destroy his forces efficiently. "War Leader," he said to Krex, "send a message to the Council. Tell them we need reinforcements." "Sir, we came here with the largest fleet in galactic history. How can we need reinforcements?" "Because we're not fighting a fleet," said Gorth. "We're fighting an entire species." The battle continued for days. The Vrex fleet, despite its superior numbers and firepower, was slowly being destroyed. The humans had turned the entire solar system into a trap. With Earth at the center, like a spider in a web. Dr. Sarah Phillips, the xenopsychologist, was monitoring Vrex communications from her facility on Luna. What she heard made her call Admiral Henderson immediately. "Admiral, you need to hear this," she said. The wrecks are breaking down psychologically. Their communications are full of fear and confusion. Henderson listened to the translated Vrex messages. For the first time in their history, the galaxy's greatest predators were experiencing terror. They keep talking about the pack that hunts in space, said Sarah. They can't understand how we can fight as one organism across such vast distances. Meanwhile, on the Vrex flagship, chaos was spreading. War leader Krex approached Gorth with devastating news. Sir, 3 ship captains have abandoned their positions. They say they're being hunted by ghosts. Gorth understood the problem. Vrex. Warriors were trained to fight enemies they could see and defeat through individual strength. But the humans fought like shadows, appearing from nowhere, striking and vanishing. It was psychological warfare on a level the Vrex had never experienced. The humans are inside our heads, said Gorth quietly. They're not just defeating our ships. They're defeating our minds. Captain Robert Lee, commanding a squadron of human fighters, received new orders from Admiral Henderson. All units were moving to Phase 2. Target their command ships. The human fleet began to focus on Vrex vessels that were coordinating other ships. Without central coordination, the Vrex fleet would collapse into individual ships fighting alone. Captain. Lee's squadron approached a massive Vrex command vessel. The ship was surrounded by dozens of protective ships, but the humans had a plan. Remember, said Lee to his pilots, we're not trying to destroy all of them. We just need to create chaos. The human ships attacked from 6 different directions. At once, they didn't try to break through the Vrex defenses. Instead, they forced the Vrex ships to choose which threats to respond to. In the confusion, a small group of human ships slipped through and destroyed the command vessel. Immediately, the Vrex ships in that sector lost coordination. They began fighting as individuals instead of as a group, making them easy targets for. The coordinated human fleet thought this tactic was repeated throughout the solar system. The humans systematically destroyed Vrex command and control, turning the organized enemy fleet into scattered individual ships. Fleet Commander Gorth watched his fleet falling apart and realized something that filled him with horror. The humans weren't just winning the battle. They were rewriting the rules of warfare itself. Sir, said a communications officer, we're receiving a message from the human fleet. Put it through, said Gorth. Admiral Henderson's voice filled the bridge. Fleet Commander Gorth, this is Admiral Henderson of the Human Defense Fleet. You are surrounded and outnumbered. Surrender now, and your crews will be treated with dignity. Gorth almost laughed. Outnumbered? We still have 3,000 ships. You have less than 8,000. You have 3,000 ships fighting as individuals, said Henderson. We have 8,000 ships fighting as one. The math is not in your favor. For the first time in his life, Gorth felt something he had never experienced before. Defeat. Not just military defeat, but the defeat of everything he believed about strength and survival. What are your terms? He asked. Withdraw from human space. Release all prisoners. And send a message to the Vrex Council. 6 months had passed since the Vrex fleet retreated from Earth. The galaxy was a different place now. News of humanity's victory had spread to every corner of known space, carried by traders, diplomats, and refugees from Vrex territory. Captain. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon once again. But this time, his ship was not alone. Around him flew a fleet of human exploration vessels, each one carrying scientists, diplomats, and peacekeepers. They were heading toward the Callan system, where an entire species had asked for human protection. Captain, said Dr. Amy Foster, who was still the ship's chief scientist, we're receiving a transmission from the Callan homeworld. The main screen showed a creature that looked like a cross between a bird and a lizard. Its feathers were bright blue, and its eyes were filled with hope. "Humans of Earth," said the alien, "I am Speaker Zhuan of the Callan people. We have heard of your victory against the Vrex. We beg you to help us. The Vrex have ruled our world for 50 years. They take our children as slaves and our resources as tribute. But now we have hope." Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. Humanity had become something they never expected, the protectors of the weak. "Tell them we're on our way," he said. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Callan system. What they found there made everyone angry. A small Vrex garrison fleet was in orbit around the planet, still collecting tribute and slaves as if nothing had changed. Admiral Paul Henderson, now commanding the human defense corps, opened a channel to the Vrex ships. "This is Admiral Henderson of the Human Defense Corps. You are in violation of the withdrawal agreement. Leave this system immediately." The response came from War Leader Vorth, a young Vrex commander who had not been at Earth. "Humans, this world, belongs to the Vrex Consortium. Your victory at Earth means nothing here." "You're wrong," said Henderson. "It means everything." The battle that followed was not like the massive fleet engagement at Earth. The Vrex had only 20 ships, while the humans had brought 60. But the outcome was never in doubt. The human ships moved with perfect coordination, surrounding the Vrex vessels and cutting off all escape routes. When the Vrex tried to fight, they found themselves facing an enemy that anticipated their every move. Captain Steve Martinez led his squadron in a perfect flanking maneuver. "All ships, attack Pattern Omega. Show them how humans fight." The Vrex ships were destroyed in less than an hour. War Leader Vorth's flagship was captured, and he was taken prisoner. When he was brought before Admiral Henderson, his eyes were filled with confusion and fear. "How?" he asked. "How do you coordinate so many ships so perfectly?" "We share information instantly," said Henderson. "Every ship captain knows what every other captain is doing. We fight as one mind with many bodies." Vorth shook his head. "Impossible. No species can do that." "We can," said Henderson simply. "And we're teaching others." Down on the Callan homeworld, the liberation was swift and complete. The Vrex occupation forces surrendered without a fight when they learned that their fleet had been destroyed. For the first time in 50 years, the Callan people were free. Speaker Zahn met with Captain Jake Morrison in the planet's capital city. Thousands of Callan citizens had gathered to see the humans who had freed them. "How can we ever repay you?" asked Zahn. "By working with us," said Jake. "By learning what we've learned about cooperation and strength." "What do you mean?" "Dr. Amy." Foster stepped forward. "We've discovered that cooperation isn't just a human trait. It can be learned by any species." The Vrex convinced the galaxy that individual strength was the only way to survive. But they were wrong. Over the following weeks, human advisors worked with the Callan people to reorganize their society. They taught them about shared decision-making, resource distribution, and collective defense. The Callan, who had been slaves for so long, began to discover their own strength. Meanwhile, the news of the Callan liberation spread throughout the galaxy. On world after world, species that had been conquered by the Vrex began to hope. And many of them sent messages to Earth, asking for help. The Human Defense Corps found itself becoming something unprecedented in galactic history, a military force dedicated to liberation rather than conquest. They didn't want to rule other species. They wanted to teach them how to rule themselves. Dr. Sarah Phillips established the Galactic Cooperation Institute on Luna. Her job was to study how different species could learn to work together. What she discovered changed her understanding of evolution itself. "Cooperation isn't just a survival strategy," she reported to the human government. "It's the next step in evolution. Species that learn to cooperate can achieve things that individuals Never could. President Helen Garcia listened to the report with fascination. Are you saying that humanity is more evolved than other species? Not more evolved, said Sarah. Differently evolved. Most species develop intelligence to compete better as individuals. Humans developed intelligence to cooperate better as a group. That's why we're so effective against the Vrex. But not everyone in the galaxy was happy about humanity's rise. In the deep core systems, where the most powerful predator species lived, a new alliance was forming. They called themselves the Apex Coalition, and they had one goal: destroy humanity. Before their ideas spread further, the coalition was led by the Thanner Empire, a species of massive insect-like creatures that had never been defeated in battle. Their emperor, Hive Lord Zek, sent a message to Earth that chilled everyone who heard it. Humans, the message said, you have corrupted the natural order with your unnatural cooperation. The strong should rule the weak. This is the law of the universe. We are coming to restore that law. Admiral Henderson called an emergency meeting of all human fleet commanders. The holographic conference room was filled with the images of captains and admirals from across human space. The Thanner Empire has allied with 12 other predator species, Henderson reported. Intelligence suggests they're building a fleet of 10,000 ships. They plan to attack Earth and every human colony simultaneously. Captain Alex Turner, who had distinguished himself in the defense of Earth, spoke up. Sir, we can't fight that many ships with conventional tactics. You're right, said Henderson. So we won't use conventional tactics. The plan that Henderson outlined was unprecedented in galactic warfare. Instead of meeting the enemy in space, humanity would turn every inhabited world into a fortress. Every human colony, every space station, every ship would be connected in a vast defensive network. But more importantly, humanity wouldn't fight alone. The species they had liberated, the Callan, the Meridians, the Zenthi, and dozens of others, had all offered to help. For the first time in galactic history, multiple species would fight together as true allies. Engineer Lisa Kim, now promoted to admiral, was put in charge of coordinating the multi-species defense network. The challenge, she told her team, is getting different species to work together the way humans do. How do we do that? Asked her second-in-command. We teach them our greatest secret, said Lisa. We show them that strength shared is strength multiplied. Training camps were established throughout human space. Alien soldiers learned to fight alongside human troops. Alien engineers learned to coordinate with human technology. Alien captains learned to share information and resources the way human fleets did. The results were remarkable. A mixed unit of human and Callan soldiers was twice as effective as either species fighting alone. A fleet with human and Meridian. Ships could coordinate attacks that neither species could achieve individually. Dr. Rebecca Turner, working with alien scientists, made breakthrough discoveries in communication technology. We've developed quantum communicators that work across species barriers, she reported. Now our alien allies can share information as quickly as human units do. The Apex Coalition fleet arrived at the edge of human space 6 months later. Hive Lord Zek commanded from his massive battleship, surrounded by the greatest predators in the galaxy. They expected to find scattered human worlds defending themselves desperately. Instead, they found something that defied all their understanding of warfare. The humans weren't scattered. They were connected. Every world, every ship, every soldier was part of a single defensive organism that spanned dozens of star systems. And they weren't alone. Hundreds of other species had joined them, all fighting with the same cooperative tactics. This is impossible, said War Prime Korth of the Vrex, who had reluctantly joined the coalition. No species can coordinate across such vast distances. They're not one species anymore, said Hive Lord Zek with growing alarm. They've created something new, a multi-species collective. The battle began with the Coalition's attack on the Proxima colony. 10,000 ships struck what they thought was a lightly defended human outpost. Instead, they found themselves fighting a coordinate defense that included human ships, Callan fighters, Meridian cruisers, and defense platforms operated by 6 different species. The Coalition ships fought as individuals, each captain trying to prove his species' dominance. The defenders fought as one organism, sharing information, resources, and tactics instantly across the entire battle space. Captain Robert Lee, now commanding a mixed human-alien squadron, watched the battle unfold from his bridge. "They still don't understand," he said to his K.